Get your pulse rifles and motion trackers ready because Alien Romulus is now in theaters.
Let's go.
The newest entry in the long-running sci-fi horror franchise comes from director Fede Álvarez, best known for 2013's Evil Dead remake and the original horror film Don't Breathe. The acclaimed director returns the Alien series back to its roots by calling back to the 1979 original with another nail-biting, blood-soaked haunted house in space. However, the new movie also left us with some serious questions, which we will try our best to answer here. Whether you're a Weyland-Yutani veteran or if this is your first time in Zero Gravity, we have the questions and answers that you've been waiting for. The opening of Alien Romulus shows a science team from the nefarious Weyland-Yutani Corporation finding the wreckage of the Nostromo, the mining vessel all the action happened on in Ridley Scott's original film. They come across what appears to be a xenomorph fossilized in some sort of mineral, and cut the specimen out of it. Later on, a familiar face from that film, we'll get to that in a bit, says that the company found and recovered the xenomorph Ellen Ripley ejected into space after escaping the Nostromo's self-destruct sequence. So, are these two different creatures? How did a fossilized xenomorph get onto the Nostromo? That movie never showed the crew picking up any rocks from LV-426, the planet where Kane was infected with a facehugger. Or if they're supposed to be one and the same, then how did that xenomorph go from being spaced to getting trapped in mineral ore? Whatever the case may be, the events of the 1979 original lead into this film's story, with the xenomorph specimen providing the Weyland-Yutani team on the Renaissance space station, which has modules called Romulus and Remus, with the material they need to craft a whole new house of horrors for our new cast to get caught up in. Speaking of the new cast, our leads this time around are Kaylee Spaney as Rain Carradine and David Johnson as her android sibling/companion, Andy. They, along with some colleagues and friends of Rain's, are indentured servants trapped on Jackson Star, a colony where they're forced to work for years on end for Weyland-Yutani, who clearly have no intentions of honoring their agreement to eventually let them go.
These proceedings are closed.
The crew's entire motivation is to find a way to escape this planet, but if that's the case, why do they have access to a spaceship? The very spaceship they use to travel to the Renaissance station, where they aim to salvage cryopods for an interstellar journey. It would be one thing if this was a work vessel that they had to steal under the company's noses, but it appears to be something that they just have unfettered access to in their off hours. Perhaps the case could be made that the company knows no one could ever escape without access to cryopods, and they limit access to those. But even then, just letting your employees who you want to keep trapped fly off into space whenever they like seems like a serious oversight on the company's part.
They don't say why, and I don't ask. I don't ask because it takes 2 weeks to get an answer out here, and the answer is always don't ask.
Here's another oversight: the Renaissance station itself. The crew of the Corbelan 4 say they want to get to Romulus before anyone else does. But why are a bunch of lowly workers the first to notice the derelict station? Certainly the company must have had better scanning technology and would have found it first. Perhaps if Renaissance had just gone down, this would make sense, but going by the state of it and how close the station is to crashing into the planet's rings, it seems like Renaissance has been abandoned for some time. Especially because the movie later reveals just how important the project they were developing on Romulus was to Weyland-Yutani, it makes us wonder why they never sent a team of their own to recover their research. The arrival of a company team or a rival salvage crew could have been an interesting wrinkle to put even more pressure on our leads, but as far as we can tell, they're the only ones who notice Renaissance in time. Maybe whoever at the company that was supposed to keep track of Romulus's whereabouts was on vacation.
Knock it off!
As established in Aliens, the eggs containing the facehuggers that begin the xenomorph's life cycle are typically laid by an alien queen. Yet although there are many xenomorphs on the Renaissance station, we never see a queen in this film. The creature that Weyland-Yutani recovers from the first movie is your run-of-the-mill xenomorph, and we haven't seen any indication in other films that they can generate facehuggers on their own. Granted, it's possible that there are aspects to the xenomorph life cycle we don't yet know, perhaps related to the cocooning process that we see in Romulus and once in a famous deleted scene from the first film. Or maybe there were fossilized facehuggers in the mineral ore that the scientists used to clone more of them. We also have to admit that between the original series, the Alien vs. Predator films, and the prequels, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, how exactly the xenomorph lifecycle works has not been the most consistent. So perhaps Álvarez just went with what he thought was best and skipped the Queen entirely to make room for the new surprise monster at the end of the film. When the main characters arrive on Renaissance, it isn't immediately clear if there are alien xenomorphs still on the station. Navarro, the pilot of Rain's group, is attacked by a facehugger and subsequently killed by a chestburster, creating one xenomorph. But later on, we see at least a dozen others on board, even though we don't see anyone impregnated. These xenomorphs had to have been created from the station's crew before Rain and her group arrived. So why didn't they attack earlier when a bunch of humans entered the Renaissance station, which has since become their lair? It's not like the humans are subtle. They're running around, screaming, messing with the ship's systems, and generally causing a ruckus. Are the xenomorphs just really deep sleepers? I mean, hey, maybe they are deep sleepers. Ripley got onto the shuttle at the end of Alien, and she was fine for like a minute anyway.
All right, it's nice to see you too.
The practical answer to this is that the movie still needs to escalate over time, so the reveal of many xenomorphs is held back until later. Still, it's odd that the aliens don't seem to care about a group of humans poking around their home until the script says that they do. All Alien fans know that the late Ian Holm played Ash, the evil android in the original film. The veteran actor passed away in 2020, but Alien Romulus features the character all the same, with Holm's likeness recreated via computer-generated imagery atop Daniel Betts, who's credited with facial and vocal performance here. Ian Holm is credited for facial and vocal reference. It isn't Ash, since that android was vaporized on the Nostromo, but instead a new villainous company man named Rook, clearly a reference to Bishop, the good guy android played by Lance Henriksen in Aliens.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
We guess that Weyland-Yutani has a bunch of different androids named after various chess pieces, yet what Rook's purpose is in the story isn't completely clear. Yes, he gives vital exposition about what happened on the station before the main characters arrive, but why is it an extended reference to Ash? Especially since making him resemble Ash means we know not to trust him.
It's a robot! Ash is a goddamn robot!
On top of that, there's the ethical dubiousness of this choice. Digitally resurrecting deceased actors for cheap nostalgia plays has become more common in blockbusters, and it's a worrying trend. Would it not have been easier to simply cast another actor as the new evil android, or maybe even bring back Michael Fassbender as David?
Watch me. I'll do the fingering.
On the subject of androids, Andy slowly turns to the dark side when he's upgraded with a module from Rook that increases his capabilities, but also changes his prime directive from protecting Rain to serving the company. But he gets redeemed in sort of a weird way. In the third act, Andy and Rain pass through a room with blue lights over the floor, which is a clear reference to the room in the space jockey's ship where Kane finds the eggs in the 1979 film.
There's a layer of mist just covering the eggs.
Andy starts glitching out in this room, falling over as if he's had a seizure, and this allows Rain to access the chip behind his ear and take out the upgrade module. It's an important moment for the plot so that Andy can help Rain in the finale, but why that malfunction happens is a mystery. Did we miss something? Please let us know, because aside from Andy running his fingers through the blue light, we're not sure what triggered Andy's glitch. Perhaps this is something that was elaborated on in a deleted scene, but whatever the answer, it should have been in the final cut. One of the film's later twists is that the Renaissance station was being used to research a mutagen extracted from the xenomorphs related to the engineers in Prometheus. The mutagen appears to cause rapid evolutions in the host, transforming them into new creatures, while also boasting remarkable healing properties. We see this in lab footage of a dead rat that is resurrected by a mutagen injection and then transforms into a bloated alien creature. Isabella Merced's pregnant character Kay injects herself with the mutagen to save her own life, but it transforms her fetus into an engineer xenomorph human hybrid monster that she gives birth to soon afterwards. The timeline of this is rather confusing. Not only is the alien gestation time in this movie way faster than in previous films, but this mutagen apparently causes massive transformations in its hosts and makes the engineer creature grow to full size in what amounts to mere minutes. We know we're talking about minutes here because the second half of the movie essentially takes place in real time, with a countdown from 40 minutes to 0 sounding over the speakers as the station heads down a collision course with the planet's rings. Even by sci-fi logic, the mutagen causing such profound transformations in such a short time frame feels incredibly convenient. That said, in Prometheus, Elizabeth Shaw was impregnated with a massive squid monster that had to be cut out of her belly in a short time frame too, so maybe that's just how it works in space. What makes the mutagen business weirder is that it raises some serious questions about the connection this movie has to Prometheus. To recap, Prometheus reveals that humans were created by the engineers and our DNA matches theirs.
Oh my god.
One of the engineers uses a black liquid to seed life on Earth, kickstarting the slow evolutionary process that leads to humanity. Then there's another black liquid later on in that film that turns humans into zombie-like monsters. Are these the same? Because they don't seem to have the same effects. And now we have Compound Z01, another black liquid in Romulus that makes evolution happen at a lightning fast rate. It obviously has a connection to engineer DNA because it creates a similar looking creature out of Kay's fetus, but Kay injected the mutagen directly into herself, so why doesn't she mutate? Once again, this liquid doesn't seem to have the exact same effects as previous mutagens. Does that mean that there are now 3 different black liquid mutagens we have to keep track of in this franchise? That's a lot of liquid black mutagens. Basically, we have a ton of questions about how the various mutagens that may or may not be related work in this series, and Romulus doesn't give us a whole lot of answers. Perhaps this is something the filmmakers want to explore in a sequel, but right now we're just left scratching our heads. Now here's a real conundrum. Alien Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens, about 20 years after Alien in the series timeline. Rook makes clear how important the mutagen research is to Weyland-Yutani, and we know that the mutagen came from the xenomorphs. Okay, fine. But if that's the case, then why did the company never go back to the space jockey's ship on LV-426 and just get more mutagen there? At the beginning of Aliens, Ripley wakes up 57 years after the first film and is told by the company that LV-426 has been a colony world for 20 years.
And they never complained about any hostile organism.
We also know the company knew about the xenomorphs because they gave Ash the order to bring the creature back for study at the expense of the Nostromo's crew. So if they were working with xenomorphs between those 2 points in the timeline, they would have to know that they could just go to LV-426, where they're going to have a colony soon enough, and grab some more xenomorphs to make more of the mutagen. Yet there's no indication that they did so. The answer to this may be a bit dull. Romulus was made after Aliens, so this might be a retcon that doesn't fit all that cleanly into the established chronology. Again, perhaps a direct sequel to Alien Romulus could shed some more light on this front. Hopefully we don't have to wait the full 9 years of Rain and Andy's journey to another star system to get some answers. But what did you think of Alien Romulus? And what questions do you have about the film? Let's discuss in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe to IGN for all your Alien needs. I'm Tom Jorgensen, last survivor of this voiceover, signing off.